About 50 journalists, bloggers, politicians and other influential media personalities came to Malmö in the beginning of October, eager to learn from Tech Camp.
After these first opening remarks, you're never going to see us stand up here in front of the room.
I wish I could stay. I've had some of the most fascinating conversations I've had in quite some time.
It all started off with an icebreaker. Turned out this is a bunch of people with a lot to discuss.
Women are starting to appear in management systems. You wouldn't have that if you don't make a quota.
It's the responsibility of all of us to reflect the society. Reflect the society.
In Denmark, Norway and Sweden, the foreign-born population continues to grow. At the same time, these groups become more isolated from the larger community. Tech Camp Scandinavia had one main goal: to find better and more efficient ways to reach a population that tends to stay out of the news loop.
You need to start thinking about how do you stand out and how do you create the content and how do you tell a story.
So what I'm talking to people about is kind of a step before you go online, about how to gauge communities in the spaces where they kind of exist every day. So being offline, going to community meetings. I put up signs in different neighborhoods around New Orleans where I live and work with questions on them as a way to engage people as they're moving in their own neighborhoods.
Tech Camp is no ordinary conference with talking heads. This is hands-on and interactive training.
So the challenge is really to write down a methodology of how do you approach a challenge. In terms of our challenge is how to create a strategy for the mayor of Malmö, which is going to increase engagement with a specific demographic, so younger demographic and ethnic groups, ethnic minorities. And the challenge is going to be to summarize everything we've spoken about in a very coherent way.
The experienced trainers had their groups do all sorts of things. One group came up with a podcast, another put up signs outdoors with questions to get in touch with minorities. A third one actually created their own newspaper.
We call it All News, and we established every kind of angle from it, from website to podcasts to everything that we are going to present.
Ultimately, Tech Camp Scandinavia was about bridging gaps and crossing borders, and the message seems to have come through.
Something really concrete is that I found one of my sibling think tanks in Norway is actually at this tech camp as well. So we started talking and started to collaborate, and that's one really concrete thing that I'm going to bring home.
I've learned some concrete tools, data tools, social media tools that I can take back home and use in my everyday work. And I've gained a lot of ideas on how to engage audience and also volunteers who work for my newspaper.
But Tech Camp is often just the beginning of a conversation. The real challenge is to take those new ideas and implement them back at work.
Once I started listening to the trainers here and listening to their expertise and their background, then they inspired me to do something more, and that was, among other things, podcast and using different technology to try and expand my project.
If you don't want to implement everything, at least maybe you can take a look at the different ideas and maybe implement it in your local media station or newspaper.
Don't waste time. Open your mind. Have no regrets. Paint the sky your favorite color.
If you were to describe Tech Camp in one word, what would that be?
Coffee?
That's fine.
Is that right?